Hello, Sweet Tooth here. Hope your day is going well. Hakuna Matata. Today, I want to talk about my second job that I worked after McDonald's, working as an apartment complex porter, which is also known as a groundskeeper or janitor. Just switching around the names and the titles. It all meant the same thing in the end. In my McDonald's story, I shared an experience where I could have been killed. What if I were to tell you my second job had that and more? And indeed, it had a lot more. My second job was to work as an apartment complex porter or a groundskeeper, aka janitor. I had tried going for casino work considering this was Las Vegas and, well, casinos actually dictate all life that thrives there. But believe it or not, to even work in a casino restaurant, you need a couple of licenses, more so than just a health safety one when working with food, and I was trying to be a busser in a casino restaurant. So the next company that hired me was an apartment complex as their porter or janitor. In general terms, the summary of my job description was to go around and make sure the property was clean and nice looking for the renters, and whatever else was deemed necessary by management. That's where all issues with the position stemmed from, and pretty much any job you can find out there that says the same, like, yeah, this is what you're going to be doing, but, and this is a big but, anything, absolutely anything else we deem necessary. Do not trust job descriptions that have that inside it, because what they deem necessary will be anything. Believe it or not, the apartment complex wasn't actually just one apartment complex I worked, it was two. Two apartment complexes where one complex was in an older person retirement area, now converted, merged with the prior complex into one big apartment complex. So it was actually two, not one. You would think they would hire two porters to keep up with this, but no. Money's always tight with big corporate entities that spend next to nothing on their workers. Am I right? By the way, I'm rolling my eyes. Also, I had 5 official managers. 5. Not including unofficial managers. 5. My supervisor, the leasing office assistant manager, the leasing office manager, the regional assistant manager, and the regional manager, whom the last two mentioned, the regional managers, were located in the old retirement folk converted merged complexes leasing office. So you had one complex that had all the direct managers, and then you had the regional managers as well. And yes, they always wanted me to do additional work like manually pick up every cigarette butt they themselves had tossed into the nearby bushes. And even on this job, I even had people like renters would just drop their McDonald's bag and say, "Oh, the porter will get it." They literally told my supervisor, "Oh, the porter will get this. I'm just going to drop my bag of McDonald's food right here on the ground." Now let's keep something in mind. I was making $6 approximately at McDonald's to deal with what I had dealt with there. At this job, the pay rate was $9. Keep this in mind. The pay rate for being a porter for me was $9. $3 difference. And no real good benefits. So let's get into events that I remember. And I want you to be the judge on if this pay rate was acceptable. And consider the main part of my job description was mainly cleaning the property. And the subpart being whatever they deemed necessary. Here we go. Sewage. I had to clear pure, raw sewage out of the drains and gutters next to some of the streets, with only a broom. You heard me right, a broom. I was not given anything else, and they didn't hire nobody else. You ever handled raw sewage? You don't want to handle raw sewage. Take my word for it. If you're not feeling sick from that if you were doing it yourself, Congratulations on having failing human senses of smell and touch. And taste too. If you make a whoops, it splashed into my mouth accident. Trust me. Next, water. I was not to be given anything but one single water bottle per day in the second hottest state in the United States of America. And if I wanted any more water, I had to walk all the way to the main office in one of the apartment complexes to refill that one single bottle of water and get back out in the heat. One day, I was having heat exhaustion in the back of one of the complexes. I was so dehydrated and so far out and desperate for water, I looked to a building exterior's water spout for some. So, I drank an exterior water spout on a building that was not filtered. Let's just say I almost died that day. I barely made it back home. I literally fell against the shower wall, running cold water on myself, puking whenever my body was able. And if you ever had to puke and you cannot, it's not good. I took a single day off and went back at it for whatever dumb reason was in my mind the day after that one day off. So I took one day off after I had heat exhaustion, and I can't even handle heat anymore because apparently if you have heat exhaustion, you're more susceptible to heat exhaustion from that point forward. So I literally almost died that day. Barely saved myself by getting in that cold shower, and took a day off because I could barely do anything. I could barely move. I took one single day off and I went right back at it right after. Can you believe that? Also, I solved the problem with my water by getting a thermal bag, and just brought my own bottles of water that I filled up for myself. And I found out that you can actually get dehydrated on your exterior and not your interior of your skin. So, drink lots of water, but what they don't tell you is that your skin can dry out on the outside. So I had a spray bottle, and I actually saved my own life for the rest of the year. And at the end, I'll tell you really what the reason is for all of this. And the reason, well, I might as well tell you right now. The reason that I worked at this job was to provide for my family. And I was kind of like, I just had to provide for my family. And it's really hard to leave a job when it's like that. So the next thing on the events that I remember are dumpsters. I had to pull out dumpsters and push them back into their containment areas every single morning. Why? Because maintenance worker or supervisor made an under-the-table deal with the garbage truck workers that if they didn't fine the company at all for anything, the porter would pull out the dumpsters for them to access easily and drive away. It made their day easier, made my day hell. And I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Under the table deals like this. Now, it also made my day hell because the wheels on those dumpsters break. They broke all the time when picked up by the trucks and slammed down hard. One day, I find that all the wheels on 3 of the dumpsters are broken, out of their containment area, down a hill, and full of renovation materials like drywall, metal, paint, and other things. And I'm expected to push this back into the containment area by myself, uphill, no wheels, metal on ground, dragging on the ground, screeching every movement. In the end, I got them back in. My arms didn't feel good, but I did it. And is that worth it? Is that worth $9? Next thing I had to do was clearing out evicted apartments. It was deemed necessary that the porter, the janitor, clear out any and all belongings in any apartment where the residents were evicted. People leave behind quite the mess, even more so when they are about to be thrown out of a place. Trash everywhere, sometimes bodily fluids. Well, okay. Well, if we're going to talk about bodily fluids, dog poop. Everyone either picks up after their dogs and cats poop, or they don't. It is appreciated that people do make that effort to pick up after their dog or cat. Not that anybody cares about what their cat does outside, right? Or a human. Yes, I've seen humans take dumps in the apartment complexes, and I had to clean it up. That's a fun time, right? Anyways, there was 3 trash cans guaranteed to be filled to the top full of dog poop within 3 days. Someone better take that trash to the dumpster quick, because, yes, it will overflow with dog poop. And the resident's not going to pick it up. They're not going to clean it. Or worse. Now, there's a situation. It either overflows with dog poop or worse. Now, I had a name for one of the trash cans when I had to take its trash bag to the dumpster. Poop and Maggot Mountain. You heard me right. It was a mountain of dog poop and maggots. Maggots. Better hope they don't escape that bag when I tie it. Am I right? Ever had maggots crawl on you? I have. So yeah, better hurry and get that in the dumpster or you're asking for serious trouble. Wait, I have a better question. Ever felt a black widow's legs touch you? I have. It's a scratchy feeling. See, there was this suspicious Dorito bag laying on the ground on the sidewalk, open. I figured that I'd pick it up with my gloves and carry it to the nearest dumpster. But I have realized not to trust anything in this position, so I'm watching the opening of the Dorito bag closely while I walk. Do you know what I didn't realize? There was a smaller hole on the other side of the Dorito bag I was not watching. Scratch, 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 scratch. Something was scratching me, checking me out from that other hole. So, I turn the Dorito bag slowly around and see a big black widow checking me out with its legs, and what was holding its home, just peeking right out, scratching the back of my glove. I immediately dropped the bag and saw the spider land on the sidewalk. Big black widow with a bulbous behind. It ran into the grass while I silently watched, rubbing my hand in shock. I did not chase after that thing, and I did not touch that Dorito bag. To be honest, I think the landscapers got the Dorito bag after I was done. I kind of just left the area. I was like, no. So that's 2 points of contact that I could have died. Black Widow in the back of the apartment complex, and I was in the back of the apartment complex where nobody would know I was actually attacked by a Black Widow. Nobody would come to my rescue. There's no way. And water. Nobody wanted to give me water. But this wasn't my last encounter with dangerous Black Widows. Oh no. I finally found a shovel that I really needed in my job in a closet in one of the apartment complexes. But in the handle's hole, you know where you have the spade part and there's like some shovels are kind of like bent outwards and they have a little bit of hole on the handle? In the handle's hole, you guessed it, there was a Black Widow. Oh, also, in the pool area, I noticed a lawn chair had numerous irregular spiderwebs extending to the ground. So I look underneath it, and, you guessed it, a big Black Widow. And this one was aggressive. It chased me on the ground as I tried to kill it with my dustpan. I wasn't going to leave this one alive, that's for sure, because it was on a lawn chair and aggressive. It would have attacked anybody that sat on that lawn chair. So I was looking out for other people's safety when working in a job that never looked out for my safety. Isn't that weird? Also, I did see aggressive brown recluses, but I'll leave it at that. They chase you too. Anyways, I want to make something clear. I called, emailed, and texted OSHA and the city's health departments looking for answers into stopping or curbing how dangerous this job was becoming. I never ever received a single response. And if I ever told anybody about this job, you know what they would say? It's how it is, you know. Really? Being almost killed in your job repeatedly? When all your job is to be a janitor? For $9 an hour. So, let me ask you, is this worth $9 an hour and no good benefits? Let's continue. Barbecue pits. I had to clean all the barbecue pits, meaning the soot and ash from when they were used. I had to shovel that out. And it was full of spiders all the time, of every kind. Roaches too. And maggots. Hey, let's talk about unnecessary work I was given that was deemed necessary. Curb painting. I had to paint the curbs. You know, the red and blue paint. I think the yellow one too, if I remember correctly. My company figured I was the best person for the job, aside from calling any third-party company. Gotta get that $9 an hour labor, am I right? Speaking of which, parking lot striping. You park your car and there's lines to guide where you should. I put those down all over both complexes because this was deemed necessary to make the porter do it. Also, leasing office manager threatened to kill me if I accidentally painted her car when I was nowhere near it. Nice. Power washing. I had to power wash constantly, anytime, any place. Pigeon poop resident didn't like? Pool area not clean enough? Someone just wanted it? Gotta go power wash it. And I regretted bringing that power washer out every single time because if a resident saw me power washing, they'd be like, "Oh, can you do it over here too?" In the middle of summer. Notices. I was the one forced to give people late notices on their door. Sometimes eviction notices. Not the actual people that were doing that to the residents. No. Me. A fucking janitor. Porter. Cobwebs. If any building had cobwebs on it, I was to use my broom to sweep them off. Oh, that includes ceilings 15 feet high and nothing given to help with that required repeated explanations why that couldn't be done without a ladder. Oh, that's 15 feet up in the air? Come on, you have a broom. Go get it. Go climb that wall. Right. Dead animals. I had to take care of dead animals. That included dead pigeons with the adequate amount of maggots underneath their body to make a maggot silhouette. I am not kidding. A whole lot of maggots under a pigeon body that when you lift up the pigeon, all the maggots are forming the shape of the pigeon. And then all of a sudden, all the maggots spread out in all opposite directions, and the ground literally looks like it's moving. It's very gross. The grossest sight you'll ever see in your life. One of them, at least. because I have other gross things that happened on this job that I will never be able to get out of my head. How about a dead dog's body so decomposed in the grass that its skeletal remains made a permanent impression in said grass? You ever want to see that? For $9 an hour? Oh, how about a dead cat whose fractured skull from a car hitting it spilled enough blood that subsequently fused to the street, making me scrape and peel its head sickeningly from the ground. It does not just lift, you have to scrape it and pull it from the ground. It is fused to the ground. Nope, no help given there, just told to do it for $9 an hour. Let's talk about encounters. Remember when I said the surrounding neighborhood had gangs always at war? Blacks versus white versus Mexican versus black? Well, I ran into the Mexican gang leader one day looking pretty sour. I had nowhere to hide, and keep in mind, this is a psycho that loved stabbing people just for the hell of it. See, he twirls a serrated custom painted knife daily waiting to stab someone. That's his thing. When he twirls this serrated custom painted knife, he's waiting to stab someone. That is his thing. How do I know? Apparently, my brother was friends with him. Out of all the things, my brother was friends with this guy. Go figure. So I know from what was told how much he loved stabbing things when he was doing this. Okay, so nothing happened. I'm still here, right? He threatened me, though. But hey, a little worded threat of death from a gang leader psycho in the middle of an apartment complex street was worth $9 an hour, right? The apartment complexes each had a playground for children. One playground had metal prongs sticking up from the chipped wood pieces that could stab a child. Guess who was tasked with removing those? Me. I was to remove those. They were essentially under the wooded chips. There was a huge boulder that these prongs were sticking out of, and it was supposed to be one of those rocking horses that a kid jumps on, but the rocking horse had broke like years, way past, and now there's just two metal prongs right there that could just stab a child. Yeah, me. I had to get rid of those two prongs somehow. No tools. No help. You know what I did? I took a hammer and I bent the prongs just to go underneath the wooded chip and back into the boulder. It's about the best I could do. In the middle of summer. The other playground had nothing wrong with it. But there was the New York lady that insisted I always check it for razor blades. And that's understandable, right? First few times I did it, and she'd actually start yelling at me while doing it. Like, things that were related, things that were not related. Basically calling me all kinds of names, even threatening me. And then I got fed up and I hid anytime we almost saw each other. She would literally try to track me down. She would chase after me. Here's the other thing. The other playground with the metal prongs was actually dangerous. This one never was. I had to avoid this lady from now on. Because she was literally chasing me and trying to threaten me. And there was nothing I could do about it. Also, I had a little kid throwing rocks at cars. Cursed me out when I tried to tell him to knock it off. Threatened with every word in the book that even his 12-year-old friends looked at him and me not knowing what to say. I'd repeat it here, but nah, you've heard serial killer ramblings from a 5-year-old before, right? They were that bad. I don't exaggerate. I, Literally, it was pretty bad. And I've seen little kids curse before. Now, get this. Everything I've mentioned took place in one single year. One single year. And here's the icing on the cake. I was fired from this job. Why? Because I wasn't doing enough in my job. Yes, despite doing everything, absolutely everything I mentioned prior, I was fired. Even when I was caught up with all that work. I even had a checklist that proved that I did all that work, that I gave to my supervisor every week, proving I was a good worker. This job and the people managing wanted me to be terrible like them. My direct supervisor put out a secret test on me. A box under some stairs. Apparently, I was supposed to immediately throw this out in the nearest dumpster and not question if it was a resident's belongings. The supervisor said, at the time I got fired, this was a pinnacle reason. He literally said that. But actually, the official reason that they wrote to the owner was that they didn't have enough money and laid me off. So they told me to my face I didn't do enough in my job, so I'm fired, but officially laid me off. So basically, I put in my resume I was laid off because that's what it was due to the company unable to keep up with costs. Literally, they could not keep up costs, so they laid me off, but told me to my face I was fired. Here's something else. I had a cart I had to physically push wherever I went. It was required. The previous porter found it to be a good idea to weld on the wheels, making it impossible to replace them, and they needed replacing every 3 months because it was a crappy cart. I didn't get no electric cart that maintenance workers usually get. I had a cart you had to manually push everywhere. And I didn't even have most of the materials for it. I actually scrounged up a whole bunch of materials over the year that I had been working that I'm pretty sure whatever porter came after me would probably be very grateful to have. Like things that were really needed, like the dustpan, the broom, the shovel, like tons of stuff that I had. I'm pretty sure they appreciate that, I guess. So what did I have to do in order to replace these wheels? I had to tear those welded wheels off, Dremel drill new holes, go to the hardware store and buy myself new wheels. Yes, I had to buy new wheels. Even the gloves I wore. These people didn't want to buy nothing. And keep in mind, this is not a small company. It's not a small company. It had regional managers. If I said the name of this company, it is a lot bigger than you think it is. It's a corporate entity. It's not a small company. And yet they couldn't afford to give me nothing. Not even more than one single bottle of water. For $9. So here we are. You be the judge. Was this worth $9 an hour pay rate with no good benefits? The main reason I did this job is because I was supporting my family. It's sometimes hard to jump around jobs when you have that much responsibility on your shoulders. So I was stuck. I couldn't just leave. This was my second job. I didn't have much experience in anything. At that time, I didn't have a college degree. Even though I went to Advanced Technologies Academy in high school and knew a lot about computer science. But every job for IT, for information technology, was looking for a college degree. This is why I had to move out to my father, because I gained the ability to get a college degree, and once I had the college degree, I started gaining experience in information technology, which is my main experience. I never had to look back to this kind of job ever again, and I feel so sorry for anybody that's stuck in this. It's $9 an hour to be almost killed on a daily basis. It's like night and day. Software development, totally fine. Yes, I have to do a lot of mental capacity thinking and theoretical and algorithms and whatnot. I could totally do it. That's who I am on the inside. I've always done computers. And then I took a break after high school before college in order to just take a break because I was like, I'm tired of school. It's possibly the worst mistake in my life because I ended up in this. I found out outside of information technology what the other jobs are like. And they will fucking kill you. But at the time I had to take care of my family. I had no choice. When you have the responsibility of making sure your family's okay, you don't have a choice. Especially when no one offers you any other positions in this life. Because everyone is so prejudiced. All these companies are prejudiced. When you give them your resume, when you go into the interview, you're getting judged on if you fit that position, and you're judging them on if you fit that position. It's so judgmental, and it's so hard to make the pieces connect sometimes. And this was one of those moments where the pieces did not connect, and I ended up in a job like this. My family would have starved. My family would have starved at the time if I didn't have this job. Because literally, for food, for 3 weeks, all we had at one time was $20 to go off of. And we had an empty refrigerator, no pantry food, no nothing. We barely even had any seasonings. $20. If I remember correctly, it was a bunch of Chef Boyardee and top ramen pasta galore. Makes you wonder why pasta is so freaking cheap. It's pasta is even cheaper than some produce. Can you believe that? To the person that says millennials don't work hard enough, fuck you. I dare you to work in this job I've been. Not for an hour, not for a day, for an entire year. No day is off, no quitting, you fucking pansy. I want to see your outlook afterward. Well, considering if you live, because look at what I just said. This job tried to kill me in many ways. And you know what? When I moved out and I started my college years and I started to work as a bagger at the grocery store as part-time in order to help with my college tuition, being a bagger was actually more healthy than this. Even though when you worked as a bagger, you're pretty much a slave to the cashiers and managers there as well. But it was so weird because when I started college and I looked back on this job, all the memories are nothing but one big nightmare. Just this one job. And this is like my first and only time, maybe not only time. This is my first time that I've ever actually openly talked about this job. It is that much of a nightmare. Nightmare inducing to see dead animals and stuff as clearly as I did, like in the state that they were, to feel a black widow, to deal with sewage, to deal with so many cockroaches, so many maggots, to deal with dehydration in the second hottest state in the United States of America, on a single bottle of water, as though that was going to work. If you could just take one step to just imagine what that feels like, you'll know how close I was being close to being fucking murdered in this job repeatedly. $9 an hour. You know what people get paid nowadays? $10 an hour. You've automatically made $1 more than me. And I didn't really have good benefits, so I didn't really have health insurance. They wouldn't give it to me. I didn't have health insurance. No health insurance. So consider this. All the black widows that I somehow dodged them from fucking biting me. All those black widows and brown recluses and no health insurance. You know what had happened if one of those spiders got me? I would have ended up in the ER with a bill that nobody could pay, and my asshole leasing managers would have immediately sent an eviction notice to my family that we didn't even have any food to eat, kicking my family out at the time that I'm trying to recover in the hospital, meaning this place would have killed me off and my family. We would have had nowhere to go. And yes, I've seen the homeless tents because during high school, when I was on the bus, our bus would go down on our way to Rancho High School, which was a magnet high school known for the sports athletic people that were like specific for those sports kids that, had like inclinations and talent in sports. We had to drive through this one location, which was next to a cemetery on the left, and on the right side, a line of homeless tents. Tent city. Homeless people. Is that not a clear enough picture to where I could have ended up? If I got bit by a black widow, I would have ended up in a hospital, and this leasing management would not take any sympathy in me or my family, immediately evict my family. They would immediately not been able to pay for anything. They couldn't even pay for food. We would have all been dead. And this doesn't even include the moments in Las Vegas that we first arrived, where we almost ended up homeless. There is a specific moment that I remember that we almost ended up homeless. That was what happened when I was in elementary school. If I feel like it, I'll talk about that experience. Almost ending up homeless. As opposed to this. So, I do have to ask, is this worth $9 an hour? Anyways, I want to thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment. I hope you have yourself a good day, and this is Sweet Tooth signing off. Love you.